Yo, what is going on, people? Welcome to Throwdown Your Questions, episode 360. I'm your host, Tony Polanco, and tonight I'm joined by Emilio Lopez. I'm going to do that again because we're having some issues here. Here we go. I think this should be it. No, it's not. All right. I was trying out some stuff, people. It didn't work, so give me a second here. Please let this. Yes. Okay. What is going on, people? Welcome to Throwdown Your Questions, episode 360. I'm your host, Tony Polanco, and tonight I'm joined by Emilio Lopez.
Sup, people? How's it going?
Chris Seeley.
Hey, what's up, everyone?
Carlos Romero. Yo. Adam Vale.
Sucker Free Sunday.
And Brian Majoma.
What up?
All right. We don't know where Brett is. Yeah. By the way, the snafu that was happening beforehand because I was trying to use the Pulse 3D headset that I just got, Sony, and some issues were happening. So I'm like, all right, fuck it. So I want to be wireless for the podcast. Nope. Back to wired. Wireless. So back to the wired. The wire. Let me tweet this out. So how's everyone doing? I got to vamp a little bit.
Pretty good. Did some stuff this weekend. Went to this Toy Con in New Jersey.
Toy Con.
Yep. Picked up a couple of figures and looked around at some stuff.
Which ones? What'd you pick up?
Oh, I picked up King Kong from NECA Toys.
Nice.
You can see that.
Must be huge. Let's see it.
Whoa. Hey, he's not
Hey,
that
there's
big.
Carlos.
Yeah, there you go.
All right.
Man, why? Manny, hopefully later on you'll be able to do that again because like your feed is all like low res. But
Oh,
it'll pick
my feed is low res.
it happened
what
like buffering or whatever. Like 280p or whatever.
Yo, man, your face is low res.
No, I'm not dissing. I'm just saying. And I hate when it happens. Manny always has
know.
the coolest shit on screen. But
I don't know.
Figures.
You can't do anything on your end. Don't worry about it.
Man, it's probably the internet. It's probably Comcast being evil.
Yeah, I've heard stories about Comcast, man. All right, man. Without further ado, let's get into it, man. Some questions for tonight. All right. First up, we got Mob Hits, man. All right. Was the GTA Trilogy Remastered Edition, whatever the fuck it's called, a straight up money grab for Rockstar and Take-Two? It seems like a terrible port. You guys all seen the videos. You've seen the clips. Yeah, it just looks like they barely did anything with it. Very upsetting.
Well, to be honest, it barely did anything. It's just sort of like a remaster with some minor adjustments that they did. You know what I mean?
It took time to redo all those faces.
Well, yeah. They obviously redid a lot of the main characters. To be honest, they had to migrate that game from its previous engine, which, by the way, was owned by EA once that company got bought over, because they were using an engine that belonged to EA, that belonged to another company to make the first 3 Grand Theft Auto games until they started effectively, when Manhunt came along, that's when they started using that other engine.
The Rage engine, right?
Yeah, the Rage engine or whatever engine that they're currently using. But yeah, the previous one was not Rage. It was this other engine that developed by some other company that they were licensing. So
Yeah, because some of these glitches, they were not there in the original game.
What was it that showed that one with the rain in the room?
Yeah.
Well,
Here's
the funny thing. Like, the rain in Grand Theft Auto actually isn't 3D. It's actually does. I've looked at some of the graphics in the original ones, but yeah, they do not. They essentially come down in front of the screen as opposed to being like multi-layered. But layered or Grand Theft Auto games, they actually did render full on rain. So it's interesting. So they're just essentially replacing assets and not essentially looking at what they're fully doing when it comes to the stuff. And then they've also been doing a lot of rolling fixes. There's been a bunch of spelling errors and a lot of the textures and stuff. Here's the thing. You got to realize that that's a lot to do to essentially to redo 3 open world games.
Yeah.
So I think it's just a slightly shinier version of what was there originally, but not by much.
Yeah, I don't know. It just seems like it just very rushed. Like you didn't need it now. You could have waited. You know.
Well, I mean, to be honest, maybe he's partially right. Maybe that they are doing it just to fill in the space between whatever Grand Theft Auto or whatever. I mean, as far as we know, Rockstar does not have any sort of major releases coming.
But the thing is, they don't need any major releases, as we've talked about many times, because they got the stupid online for GTA 5, still making in stupid money. You know.
I mean, it's still making them stupid money, but I mean, I can't be any better. It can't be as good as when it was originally doing it. And then who's to say that they're even still developing updates for it?
They are every single week.
All the
I
time.
get every week I get those emails. You know,
get the propaganda shit. It's like, oh, we're adding
they're
this.
still
We put new cars.
Yeah, as a matter of fact, even on PS5 right now, the new latest update is right there in your face, being advertised to you. So yeah, they updated every single week with new content, and like every few months or so, it's like brand new content. You know, so it's still going. It's still making as much money now as it did before, maybe even more so. You know, and as far as releases go, they literally have Grand Theft Auto 5 releasing next year. They didn't need this right now. They did not. They could have put it next year or until it was ready. You know.
Who knows?
Yeah, I don't know. It's weird.
It may be what I'm thinking, because the studio that was behind it, that doing the port, they said, "Oh well, we're gonna patch it. We're still working on it. And we're not giving them." Maybe they were given this a while ago, and this is what they can do for the time. It's like, hey, can you get something ready by the holiday? Yeah, we can do it, and this is what they produced. So it's all on them.
I think also this studio was specifically made to do this thing.
Yeah, Logic Wind says they're called Grove Street Games. Okay, is that true? Is that their actual name, Grove Street Games?
Yeah.
Wow. So. Okay.
They've done a bunch of the other ports for other platforms for GTA games.
So yeah, they just essentially but they've been the porting studio essentially in charge of doing all of the different updates and stuff that they've done for previous games. You know, well, a lot of the games if you look on their section there, the stuff that they've done, it looks like they've been, they did the Grand Theft Auto series, and they look like they did quite a bit of other games. So who knows?
Yeah.
It goes on them. It definitely goes on them, and of course it's Rockstar, so people are gonna poo-poo them for this because they hired the other ones to do it. So. I don't know if you're going to bring it up also, but you probably will, about why it got pulled on PC.
No, you bring it up.
It got pulled because of the hot coffee code. It's still there.
Still there. Oh my god!
It's still in the game. That's the thing. One of these people were tearing the PC version down. They noticed that code is there. It's just disabled. So the fact that the code is still there is a no-no. It's got to go. Remember, they lost like a $20 million lawsuit back in the day. So.
They probably happen is they're probably going, what they based their version off of was the release version of it. They probably didn't have the later release version of it that they did.
And so all the songs that we talk about, they're still there too. They just disabled.
Wow.
So
so essentially they do what normal game developers do. They never really pull things out a lot of time. They just put a little block on them. And
I get it, because it's that fear of if you remove the code and you go to recompile, you might break something. Something else might fall apart. So it's easier to disable than to just remove all the code altogether. But when you got a community the way they are now, and they're taking screenshots of the code and like, look, it's still in the game. Look, they're still in the game. It's like, oh shit. So they said that's the main reason why they pulled it down, and now they have to do all this work to take it out before they could relaunch. So that's where you're seeing all these people asking for refunds. And I think they're going to get it.
Hot coffee created a hot mess. By the way, shout out to Mr. Brett Murdoch, who's joining us.
Mr. Murdoch.
What's going on,
didn't
brother?
Didn't we talk about the hot coffee thing when we talked about the launch of this game? And we're all like agreed on, they would know better than to release it with that still in there.
Apparently we were wrong about that.
PC version has it still in there.
Ain't that about a bitch? But yeah, go ahead, Brian.
Which means that there's like a weird fun fact now. There's actually no way to get any version of GTA 3, Vice City, or San Andreas legally on PC digitally. Since they took down the old ones.
The other ones.
Listed them,
Yeah. That's fucked up. Obviously, there are other ways because that is the nature of PC, but still, it's just like that's fucked up. And yeah, to talk about what Manny was talking about with the assets and the typos and stuff. Apparently, they used machine learning just to read in the assets and then spit out what they assumed it said.
Wow.
And apparently, no one really checked it because no one really checked it.
Ah.
Yeah, which if that's the case, okay, it's fine, makes sense. Again, try and make the job a lot faster so that you don't have to hand do each one. That makes sense. I'm not gonna lie, but at least go through and check it once or twice. Have some sort of quality control.
Seems like that didn't exist for this thing.
Yeah, Brian, and I gotta ask, like, can you really excuse them trying to save money when they're releasing an old game for $60?
Brett, I actually had the same conversation with myself the other day when I was doing the dishes. Rockstar has enough money to remake every single GTA game that they've ever put out, and it won't even hurt them. They can literally do that because of how much money that they have at this point. So yeah, that just got me mad because I was there. I'm just like, wait, hold on, Rockstar aren't broke. They're Rockstar. They have the biggest selling game in history at the moment. It's like, what the fuck's going on?
By the way, slight correction: the biggest selling piece of entertainment in history. This thing's made more money than everything on Earth. That's how much money they got.
I would say they're taking what I call the horror movie approach to this. Essentially, putting out a cheap product and being able to get more money out of it because of the history of it. So, to answer the question, I guess it is a cash grab, right?
Yes, it is. Absolutely. Absolutely.
But it looks so good in the trailer. That's what people are saying. It's like it looked when they did the comparison. Remember when they did that launch?
Yeah, that looked
showing
legit.
Us,
yeah,
legit. So if that's what I can see plenty of people just saying, "Yeah, I'm going to pre-order this shit. Look at it. It look awesome. Why would they screw me? Why would they screw me?" And here we go.
Man. All right, let's move on. Go ahead, Mr. Romero.
Whenever a remaster remake gets done, they're all done for cash grabs. No one in Rockstar is saying, "Oh, I think there's something left to tell with GTA 3 and Vice City and San Andreas." Oh, they're doing it because they're popular games. They want to bring them back into the zeitgeist. GTA is as big as it's ever been, so let's make as much cash as possible. And obviously, it was a lazy money grab because they didn't put as much effort to polish the game and not make it look like it's at some points it looks like just absolute trash.
Yeah, yeah, dude. Those bugs, holy shit. All right, man. Move on. Next question here. Also from Mob Hits. This one. It may be outdated by the time you hear this podcast. We'll see what happens. With rumblings that the online portion of Halo Infinite may come out this Monday or today, the 50th anniversary of Halo, can Microsoft be looking at a massive month with the release of both Forza and Infinite's multiplayer? We got to pull it back a little bit now. So I heard about this starting on Friday. When it comes to rumors, I completely dismissed it. I'm like, this is ridiculous. Because I'm like, why? Just because it's on an anniversary, we're gonna just suddenly have this multiplayer come out of nowhere? That makes no fucking sense, right? Doing a little bit of research, come to find out that even Forbes was reporting on this because not only was it like a bunch of quote unquote trusted leakers, but even out of all places, Pringles' website had a countdown to Halo because I guess they got some cross promotion shit going on, and the countdown ends on Monday because there's going to be a big Xbox anniversary show happening. That is happening. That's not a rumor. I think it's at 1 p.m. Eastern, big Xbox anniversary celebration show. And it's like, okay, after the show, they're going to be like, or at the end of the show, they're going to be like, hey, Halo Infinite multiplayer available right now. Also a playable demo of the campaign. So we don't know. I mean, by the time you hear this, it may have happened, may have not happened. Paul Tassi, I believe, from Forbes, he did the reporting on it. He thinks that it's probably going to happen this month. But okay, this is what he says. It was supposed to happen tomorrow, but some shit got delayed, but he still believes it will happen at the end of the month. But they may surprise us. That would be pretty crazy because you don't usually get surprises like this anymore in the gaming industry. You know,
End
especially
of
for
the
big
month could go
AAA
to
games.
next month. So I mean, they didn't Microsoft say they were definitely going to have it out before the end of the year?
Yeah.
At least
So
the multiplayer.
the launch day, I forget what the launch day is. December 11th, I believe.
December. Yeah.
That makes sense.
All-
It's only what, a few days earlier before.
Yeah. But I mean, this would be like 3 weeks beforehand. You
No,
know.
if it's today, yes. But if it goes to base off of the other ones, like, oh, they're gonna have it done by the end of the month. I was like,
Yeah.
that doesn't do much.
So yeah, it would be a good month if that's true. I mean, Forza already came out, getting very positive reception. You know, was it 4.5 million people playing it? Pretty damn good. But what's going on with that? What was that noise?
someone was like,
Making a
shit.
margarita or something.
Yeah, it's a mixologist here.
Yeah, it's like shaken, not stirred.
Again, I don't know how much I want to say on this because it is.
Oh, no, that was my
rumor.
headphones making noise. My bad.
Yeah.
Oh,
Go ahead, Carlos.
yeah. So the game's supposed to come out December 8th.
December 8th, okay.
So this whole rumors came out, and honestly, for me, it feels a lot blue boxy kind of type of stuff here. Obviously, there is the show where the anniversary is tomorrow on Monday, but Pringles actually took down the
They
countdown.
did. Yeah, they did. And people think
So-
that's evidence. You know.
Yeah, it was a
Yeah,
spoiler.
does that sound familiar?
Mm-hmm.
So I don't think they're going to release a multiplayer today or tomorrow or within this week.
Yeah.
Maybe
by
an
the way, some of
announcement
the-
or a trailer or demo.
Yeah, maybe. One of the other things, like, because people who've been playing it somehow. There was like an open thing a couple weeks ago. They went into the source code and a bunch of references to November 15th were in there. You know, that's the other piece of the puzzle here. You know. But yeah, I did get that blue box feel from it too. You know, only this probably seems more credible than that. You know?
Maybe they need to stop using that AI to launch things.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
Maybe
it's like
maybe they need to have somebody check these things over.
I don't know, but I get not much to say. We have to see. That's just all you can say about rumors. You know, we have to wait and see. You know,
they're not going to release it tomorrow. It's way too close to the release of Forza, where it's
Yeah.
we released Forza Horizon 5, one of the best games to come out for our system. Hey, by the way, we're releasing this even more massively anticipated game on our platform.
yeah, you're right. He's gonna
What are we
cut it
going to
off.
have
Yeah,
after?
Yeah.
So those 4.5 million people are going to go swindle down real quick after that.
But on the other hand, that's just bring more subs. If they're just trying to squeeze more subs, Netflix is the same shit. Every other week they'll bring out another series. I'm like, oh, what about the other? Doesn't matter. We want everybody just to find another reason to sub up and stay subbed. So if let's say, oh, you're gonna play this Forza, Racer Run maybe, and then Halo multiplayer. Oh well, that's gonna keep me engaged throughout the holidays. All right.
Netflix has hundreds of millions of subscribers across multiple countries and different ages, genders, and everything. Xbox Game Pass has a couple of million, and they're essentially the same person.
Person? What?
It's the same dude. It's an atom. It's an atom.
But they
It's a bunch of atoms.
But they're all over the world. Game Pass isn't
Roadie
just in the
run.
US.
Yeah, but it's not hundreds of millions. Like when you get hundreds of millions of people, it's like, oh, some people want to watch soap operas. Some people want to watch fucking Godzilla or something. But,
I get it, but maybe they're trying to do that. I don't know. Maybe they think about it. This is something that was already delayed. It's not like they're really trying to push things forward. This was delayed. So
and not
they're
only
just
that,
trying
but the life cycle of a game lasts way longer than that of a TV show.
Yeah, I
or
was just about to
movie.
say, like your TV show, crank that out in a weekend. Video games last a little bit longer.
I cranked out Twin Peaks season 1 this weekend.
Oh shit!
Oh,
Yo, man, it's pretty
It's
good.
Manny's show right there.
Yeah, Manny show.
yeah. I'm wearing.
How many
got the hat on,
subscribers?
son.
How many subscribers does Xbox Game Pass have?
18.
18 million,
God,
right?
Nah, I don't fucking know.
No, last time I heard was in September. They said that they had like 30 million.
Okay, 30 million. Okay, still
Good
a
amount.
big number.
Pretty penny. That's big money.
But yeah, again, we'll see. It's just a rumor at this point. All right, moving on here. This one, a sponsored question from Mr. Romulan, also mob hits. Okay, by the way, I'm apologizing. My bad, people. We should have covered this on the Thursday show. I had no idea that the news was from this week, so we cover it now. Recent reports state that Sony has cut its projected forecast for PS5s for 2023 in half. Is it possible for Sony to start day one availability of first-party games on PC to maximize the return on those games? All right, again, pull it back a little bit. So that report is actually accurate. That's actually true. Sony has cut their projections by half for 2023 because of the chip shortage and all this shit, you know? So before we get to the question, what do you guys think about that? Chris, I'm going to you specifically first, man, since you're always good with covering this stuff when it comes to manufacturing.
He's away right now.
Oh, okay, maybe then you go since you're talking.
He just left the thing in the chat.
Yeah.
So what does it mean for when they change the projections?
Yeah.
Well,
What's your take on it, basically?
Well, yeah, I mean, I think that's exactly what it is. What it is I think it's because of the chip shortages, because of all this stuff happening. I definitely think it's because of that. Now, should they push up the PC releases? No, they're not going to do that.
No,
if anything, what you're going to see is you're going to see continued support for PlayStation 4 games. That's what you're going to see. You're not going to see you're not going to see a lot of those truly next gen titles for a little bit. So all those you could see it, you could see it even before they knew this shit was coming. Why is Horizon Zero Dawn coming on PlayStation 4? Why is why are a bunch of why is God of War coming out on PlayStation 4? God of War 2.
Yeah, it's kind of interesting because like originally, at least I was under the impression like, this is also still true. That's like, they're putting them on both consoles because there's a larger install fan base. That's true. But now you also have to add in the factor of people can't get PS5s readily, so that's also, so in a way it was actually kind of smart thinking. Obviously they weren't planning for the Rona because of that, that's just the way it ran. Think about it. That same thing happened last generation too. But it's interesting because like they're not cutting the projection for next year; they're cutting it for 2023. So
yeah. I've read some reports saying that it's harder to get a PS5 now than it was at launch.
Yeah. So Carlos, real quick, how they talk about how the PS5 is the fastest selling PlayStation 5? That's probably going to slow down soon. The fastest selling PlayStation is going to have to slow down soon.
Yeah, everybody chomps at the bit whenever a new shipment of PlayStation 5s come out. You always see that thing like, cheap ass gamer or whoever on there like releasing, Sony's doing some more sales on their website.
Yeah, Wario 64,
At this, Wario 64, you shouldn't be seeing that, man. You shouldn't be seeing. You should be able to go over to a fucking Target or a GameStop and pick yourself up a console. You shouldn't be on a fucking wait list. Yeah. That's what there's a serious problem right now.
Oh, well, hold on. A wait list would be a better problem to have than the current clusterfuck that we have.
Well, yeah. Well, it's not even a wait list. It's more like limited release windows.
Yeah. It's a hope and pray fucking list. Like,
it's a pop-up.
Yeah, well, and they're bullshit. Like, I gotta even say, like, as somebody who never even got the official release email thing, the here's your invitation to buy a PlayStation 5. This never fucking happened. Never. And I've had a PlayStation for like 15, 20 years, something stupid like that. I've had PSN since it came out. They have no real sense of how to approach their customer base because they don't give a shit as long as things sell. They're like, yeah, somebody will buy it. We don't care.
I'm right there with you, Brett. I'm one of the people. Same here. I've had a PlayStation since PlayStation 1. I still have my PlayStation 1. And I had PSN like the year it came out, and nope, no emails. Unironically, the only person that got the email was Adam.
Yeah,
you know why Adam got the email, right?
Because he
subscribed to all the newsletters.
Yes, because he spends a lot of money on the network, so they want to keep those guys who are essentially making them consistent money. And
I've
I
been
don't
spending
mean
a lot
just
of money.
I thought that was the case, but I have a buddy of mine who doesn't have anything on it. He doesn't buy any of the games, maybe one or two every once in a while. And he also received that list, invite, and he got it. He has a PS5 and he doesn't even use it, but he got it because of the hardship that everyone's having issues trying to get it. So he was like, "Ah, I'll just get it," but he got on the same thing.
I didn't get no email, so.
But you don't get any of their emails, period. You only
No,
get
I
when
only
you make
get
a purchase. Yeah.
I get the emails when I get a purchase, and I get an email when when it's about time to pay up for PlayStation Network. That's what I get.
Right. Real quick is to make it says they're only cutting it off by 1 million. So I don't know where Mob Hits got half. You know. I'm reading
Yeah.
this. I'm reading this real quick off Tom's Hardware. Initially hoping to have delivered 16 million PS5 consoles by March of next year, Sony has now cut its PS5 sales guidance by 1 million consoles, and a lower number of manufactured consoles naturally translates into lower consoles for sale, which is true. All right, so it's Mob Hits. Where are you getting 2023 from? You're leading us astray, bruh. You know. So Chris,
Well, that's why we gotta
yeah.
check. We gotta check this stuff.
Exactly. That's
before
why.
we-
Yeah.
we-
So
we-
there we go, man. We have to be factual right here. So they're cutting it by 1 million. Chris, what's your take on that?
Well, going with the original question, even if his information was accurate, which we know it's not, they would not day one
No, they wouldn't.
simultaneously launch stuff on PC. This wouldn't do that because you'd hurt any future sales you have. Like eventually, the shortages will end, right? You'll get manufacturing up, and you're still hoping to sell whatever stock you have. If you put it out on PC, you dash that to pieces, right? Because people are going to opt to put their money where they have the most available content. And if you put your content they want on PC, then they're going to buy a PC or spend the money on their PC to upgrade it and not buy a PS5. You won't keep anybody in your ecosystem after that. So that'll be a nail in their coffin. Um, with them cutting it short 1 million, okay, I can believe that. Everybody is projecting less stock out in the wild for the next year, and there's no real end in sight for the shortages. That it has to end at some point. I just don't know when. But in
Yeah,
terms of adopting your stuff, like Manny said, they will they'll push out older titles to PC. They'll keep engagement with PS4 stuff or simultaneous release, until eventually you'll have to go exclusive. You have to start making exclusive stuff for PS5 like permanent. So that'll probably happen late next year.
Yeah.
I
wanna-
think I
yeah,
think
go
we
ahead.
can I think we can prepare to anticipate having these types of shortages for the next couple of the next few years. Definitely 2022, probably
Oh, yeah.
2023, and likely 2024. Um, but I think what Chris is mentioning, I think the likely scenario is at the end of, I guess, at the end of this tunnel, there'll be an overcompensation of supply, and we'll have so many PS5s we won't know what to do with them. But yeah, I think that's maybe 4 years into the future. And
Yeah.
I find it funny how we've mentioned for years now about the Wii's release and how they had that artificial scarcity and how that worked, and now it's like just get rid of the artificial and just have the scarcity, and the same story continues.
It's the same thing, yeah. Just not manufactured, like you said. I want to read this one
Yep,
part.
not manufactured. You said it, Tony.
Yeah, literally not manufactured.
Yeah, literally not manufactured.
I want to read this one part here because and just before I read it, PlayStation currently has sold PlayStation 5 has sold 13.4 million as of October 28th. That's a couple weeks ago. Okay, it's expected the PS5 will remain in tight supply throughout the entirety of 2022. Sony is likely revising its sales outlook for the end of 2022 as well, which is true. A 22.6 million PS5 sales target by the end of 2022 seems somewhat unfeasible at the present time. What do you guys think about that?
Crazy,
Yeah.
they're like there's enough demand for the product. They just can't make them fast
Yeah.
enough.
Again, the situation with the scalpers, man, it's not gonna get any better, you know.
Mm-hmm.
Like they have, like if you go by what the analysts say, that 10% of the consoles have been sold to scalpers. That's over a million consoles out there that aren't in actual people's hands. And again, if you're a retailer, you don't give a fuck. You make your money either way. You know,
Okay, hold on a second. Hold on a second. I got to clarify something here.
Yeah.
So, would you say scalpers are a big problem?
I would definitely say they're a big problem for sure.
Oh, okay. And how many consoles have scalpers taken out of circulation?
The analysts say, this is not my numbers, obviously. The scalpers say, the analysts say that 10% of the consoles sold are in scalpers' hands.
And how many consoles have been sold?
13.4 million. So that's,
okay.
Yeah.
So we're talking about roughly 1 million consoles, correct?
Yeah, a little
Did
over a million.
Did we just say that 1 million consoles wasn't a big deal?
No one's saying that, bro. You know.
Well, when we said like, oh, they're projecting a 1 million less. You know, that's not as big a deal as we could have made it out to be. 1 million is 1 million. I just want to point out this is the kind of weird mental flips that happen when you fucking forgive a company. Because on one hand, you're like, there's 1 million consoles not out there. That's fucking ridiculous. But at the same time, when they're like, oh, we're gonna make 1 million less consoles, you're like, oh, that's fine.
No, we were saying 1 million less compared to half. That's a different number, dude.
No. I know. And I'm not saying you guys are being hypocritical. I'm just saying like the way that the news is delivered and the way that people hear things, they're like, yeah, 1 million projected shorter, not a big deal. 1 million the scalpers have though. That's a big fucking deal. The principle adds to the outrage on that one just because they're scalpers.
I haven't heard anybody say that 1 million was like a least number though. Like
that's been what I've seen attached to this story is like people are like, oh, PlayStation's gonna reduce production, and then just somebody comes in that's like, only buy 1 million. Everyone's like, oh, well, I guess that's not so bad.
No, that is fucking bad. That's horrible. You know. So yeah, those people are tripping, bro. You know, but I was just saying, like, compared to what Mob Hits said, that it was half.
No. I feel you. I was just using it as example. I wasn't actually lampooning you, Tony.
Yeah. All right. I was about to say, like, hold on, bro. 1 billion either way is bad. You know.
No. There's gonna be 1 million little Timmies there crying over their Christmas not getting there, and not all these little Timmies have a Fergus Mills. Shout out to Fergus Mills. And yeah, it sucks, man, because it's a hot item and people can't get it.
Can't get it.
Now here's my question. Let's take these theoretical million sales just out of curiosity. How many do you think are up for grabs? Are these 1 million people that are gonna buy the console no matter fucking what, or are these 1 million people that might say, maybe I'll just buy an Xbox or upgrade my PC?
Yeah, no, you're right. I was thinking about that. It's like these scalpers are probably not going to sell all of those, Yeah.
But even when it comes to upgrading the PC, it's hard to get parts in general for anything.
Yeah, so the sadistic part of me wants them to not sell it just to eat the cost, being fucking assholes.
Oh, absolutely. No, I that's 100% of me. Not even the sadistic side, because honestly, like. I realize that sometimes Little Timmy's Christmas is important, but don't feed the trolls. Don't buy from scalpers.
Yeah, fuck
if
those
you
guys.
buy from the scalper, you are also the asshole.
Yep.
Speaking of assholes, I'm thinking about selling one of my PS5s.
Oh, Carlos.
Yeah, well, that's because you have one and you don't want one. That's not necessarily like.
Oh no, I have two and.
Well, yeah, you don't need one. Like I'm talking about, like if you buy from a scalper. They're going to then go out and get another system to scalp. It's not going to take one out of circulation. It's just going to prolong the problem. And newsflash, they're better at getting the systems than you. So they're going to get the system before you, which means that you're not. When you buy one, you're not taking one off the scalpers or off the black market. You're just making it so that they have the money to take another one off the regular market and into the black market.
Yeah.
If you buy from scalpers, fuck you. Sorry, I know times are tough, but.
By the way, Blitz just said the realest shit right now, man. 1 million less PlayStation 5s could be 1 million more Xbox users.
Yeah, that's what I was wondering.
Mm-hmm.
Phil Spencer's rubbing his hands right now.
Phil Spencer's like, we don't got to worry about manufacturing, baby. We got you can get an old Xbox one right now and still play the new games on it. Xbox
exactly.
Gaming,
you can literally buy an old Xbox and still play all those games.
Yeah, ain't
That's
that
that's
something?
the yeah.
Did they discontinue the Xbox One X? I know they discontinued
It
one of
was
them.
it was the One X, I believe. Yes, the One
Oh,
S is still available though.
oh snap! Did you guys know PlayStation 5 turns 1 today?
Yes, it does. One. Yep, it does. I think we wait. Is it today? I
Well,
thought
I
it was
think
on the
it. No,
12th.
I think it was like 2 days ago.
Yeah, I think we talked about that the other day too. You know.
There's a lot of, yo man, the amount of times I fucking rolled my eyes this past week of all the people saying, "Oh, happy 1 year anniversary," taking pictures with their console and shit like they're babies. I'm like, all right, man,
Oh my
settle the fuck
god.
down.
All
There's
right.
so
I mean,
many
I mean,
lonely people in this
Teh.
world.
I mean, on GameStop's website right now, you can get Xbox One X.
Yo, because GameStop's not afraid to fucking just be like, Fine, just whatever you pay,
Yeah,
do
One
it."
X though.
Yeah.
One X.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah, you probably have to buy a bundle still.
Yeah.
No,
Oh,
you
okay.
No,
just the
not for
one.
the old ones. You can still get the other one.
No,
That's not
you
in
can get
debate.
the One X. It's the 1 terabyte console. You can get for the white
Oh,
one. They even
it's
have
pre-owned.
choices.
It's
Oh, it's
pre-owned.
pre-owned.
Yeah,
Oh no, they there's bums.
yeah, that's the rope though.
That's how they get
Oh
you.
no, or refurbished. Let's see what refurbished says.
Yeah. All right, man. Let's move on. Next question. Whoa, we got a question here from E-Man Land.
Excuse
Who
me.
that?
All right, who
Who is
him?
this guy?
For those who have played it, what are your thoughts on the Elden Ring closed beta?
Well, I played
I
it.
specific. I specifically threw that in there for you, Chris, because for you guys don't know, Chris has been recording some footage for something special.
All right, so Chris, what are your thoughts, man?
Well, I mean, you could have just called this game Dark Souls 4.
Oh,
I mean, I have no complaints other than there was like so much happening on the map, and I just kept looking around at things that I captured. Some of the stuff may be boring because I'm like, oh, what's over here? What's over here? Like you're able to pretty much walk anywhere, and I think you can actually cross the water too, but I didn't try that. I'm pretty sure you need something to do that. It's not like Ghost of Tsushima where I can just jump like go swim in the water and get to an island or something. I'm pretty sure I'll die if I try to go in the water.
Hey, Chris, how
So
does Dark Souls work with an open world? I've been trying to figure this out, and it's the one question I'm like, but Dark Souls is like repetition and predictability. The fuck's going on now?
oh, it's well basically like so you know when we play Souls and you could see the other areas you could get to through warping to the bonfire, right? You look out at the map painting and you're like, oh, there's a castle over there, and there's kind of this tower, and you'll get there later. No, this game, if you see the castle and the tower, or whatever, you walk there. It's like, hey, you're walking over there. So and then everything in between is trying to kill you.
Okay, so like if you pass like a specific rock formation and there's a werewolf there, is every time you pass by the rock formation, is there going to be a werewolf there, or are there kind of roving enemies in the open world?
No, there's patrols and stuff, and if you sit at a light of grace, which is this game's bonfire, you will uh you will respawn them. Just like the old game.
I like how they just barely pretend they're not making Dark Souls.
yeah. Anything else, Chris?
But yeah, it's good. There's just subtle analogs to the old game. So like I said, instead of a bonfire, there's this light of grace. It's this orb in the ground. You sit at it. The time of day passes as you play. So whereas before you'd be in a stage and the time of day was just frozen unless you did a certain like boss fight or events, and then maybe that would change the environment. No, this game has a day and night cycle. And I don't know if that's significant because I haven't played long enough with the beta sessions are only 3 hours and they turn on and off at odd times and you can't play if the server's not on. But when I played, like, yeah, I saw the sun set and it turned night, and you could sit at the light of grace and pass time and say like I want to wait till morning or I want to wait till night. I guess specific events probably happen or certain enemies only appear at certain times of day, which will be pretty interesting to see. I I like it a lot. Like if you like the Souls games, then you will like this game. And then if you like open world exploration, it has it in there. I got the steed. It's this kind of like kind of pack animal, and it's ethereal. It's not real. It spawns in when you need it, and when you jump off of it, it vaporizes, and it just comes back when you call it. So that's pretty good, and it helps you ride around. I didn't get to an area where we saw in the trailer like you can use that airlift and jump up, but I'm actually trying to fight a boss right now, and it's whipping my ass. But yeah, the last during Throwdown right now is the last closed beta session, and then that's it.
Oh shit.
That's it till the game launches. So I'm just trying. I was just trying to see if I had the right stuff to kill this boss, and the
Is that
answer
the
is
guy?
the answer is
Is
no.
that the is that the guy with the dragon arm or whatever? Oh, the all the arms, or I can't remember. It was some crazy guy
No,
that
he
they
this guy
showed.
has a messed up face. He's a giant, and he has like a look like a giant walking stick, but he pulls out these magical weapons. Like he pulls out magical daggers, he throws them at you. He has a magical
Mhm.
hammer, and he jumps really high up in the air and he comes down on your head with that hammer. So I picked a knight so I could block it, but like he has large sweeping attacks, and of course you're fighting him on a narrow bridge. So if he
Hmm.
gets you knocked off that bridge, you fall to your death. So I just fell to my death
No
just now.
man.
All right, Chris,
But yeah,
you better be ready for the tours.
yeah, I will. The tours are going to be difficult though because there's not like there's one path. Like Brett was saying, like all the Souls games, you just like you know where you're going. You have to stay on the path and you walk in and yeah, don't fall off the edge, right? But this game, it's like, oh, you could head to the beach over there and like you want to. Oh, you see something in the distance, or you see a monster. Like the draw distance is pretty good on PS5. So I saw some shit moving in the distance, and I was talking to some NPC. I was like, oh, I'm gonna go see what's up with this guy. Yeah, I get over there. This guy is the size of a building. I'm like, yeah, I'm not
Oh.
fucking with that. And I took off. I'm like, I'm out of here. Then I met the chick, and she's like, oh, here's your ethereal steed, and she said she was a finger maiden. I'm like, I don't know what that means. This is a kid
Oh
show. Kids,
yeah.
calm down. Calm down.
Hey.
Let's settle down.
Whoa, whoa, whoa,
Yeah.
whoa!
I know what kind of game you're playing, lady. But so
You
yeah,
click
then
on her, and then a microtransaction window opens up.
Watch my PlayStation dollars disappear. What's
Here
going on
we
here?
go. Exactly.
Yeah, but it is good. Like I'm excited to play the final version, but there's nothing in this game where I'm just like, yeah, this is like so different from the Souls games. Like they really got turned a corner. No, no, no. They just figured out how to do this in an open world map. And there's a map too. You pull up the map with the touch bar. There's this giant map and it draws in as you travel, right? Like most other games. And it's huge. It's huge. It looks like you unfurl the map to like Skyrim and you're drawing it in as you move along. Now I don't know how much of it is usable, but so far I've been able to go to different places except where there's a water boundary, and then I see islands with stuff on it, and I'm like, well, there's got to be a way to get there. I just don't know how to get there yet. We'll find out when the full game comes out.
Yeah.
And the same type of bullshit where they call me tarnished instead of ashen or hollow, or it's the same thing. There's world trees, there's bonfires, you're a special type of undead person. They just call you tarnished now, and everybody hates you because you're tarnished. And then it's like, hey, the world's fucked up for some reason. Why don't you go find out?
Hmm.
Okay, you go travel.
All right.
Was there a lot of what do you call those bloodstains or what do you call those things?
Oh, that all of that is back. People write messages on the floor. You can write messages on the floor. There's where people died. Yeah, you could replay. You touch the blood stain and you see how they died. That's all there.
Damn, I
All of
guess
that
they
stuff.
just had no patents, right? I mean,
Yeah,
they just like no patents. Let's rip it off. Let's do
and
it.
the same thing with summon signs. They're on you put your sign on the floor, someone picks you up. I just summoned two guys to help me with this boss. They got jacked, and then I was like, oh shit, I'm in trouble. So it's the same thing like the old games now. I don't know because I didn't make it past this boss. If your boys you call in stay with you or they leave, that would be nice. That's what I was trying to find out.
From what I hear, they don't disappear.
All right, that
They
that
only
that
They only disappear if they die or they leave.
that's one thing on my wish list. Also, I haven't figured out how to two-hand my weapons because the buttons change around because you can jump now. So there's a dedicated jump button. So they moved the action button to triangle, which is fucking me up because I'm so used to X being the action button for the Souls games because you could never jump, right? Except for Sekiro, there was no jumping. So X is always the action button, and triangle brought up like would operate your weapon. So you two hand your right-handed weapon or you equip your bow. I don't have a bow with this character yet, but I'm like, okay, I have a wing spear. I want to two-hand the spear for two. I don't know how to do it, and I'm like trying to. I've tried every button combination. I'm sure it's something simple. I just can't figure it out. So it's a little weird, and the jumping is awkward because you, it's like you think you can clear something and you can't, and your character doesn't gesture like they can climb up. They just look like they're hovering, trying to get up somewhere, so it looks weird. I don't know. It's one of those games. You don't grab on to anything. You just kind of either you make it or you don't.
Oh man. Oh, but it sounds like you had
So
fun.
so Chris, you can confirm that the draw distance looks better on this game than it did on the GTA Definitive Edition.
Okay.
Well, I mean, this game looks a hell of a lot better than GTA Definitive Edition. I saw some guys playing that, and yeah, that
Well,
did not look so good.
no, another question. I know that when I first saw this game, my biggest criticism, it was the first trailer. My biggest criticism is it looked like a PS4 game. Do you feel the same? Like when you're playing this?
Uh yeah, I mean, it's not. Yes, there's not that leap where you feel like, oh, this is like amazing and looking on PS5. Like I downloaded specifically the PS5 version, but
Mhm.
I don't feel it looks that great. It's not impressing me over Demon Souls remake. That's for sure.
Oh.
Actually, I'd say
Oh,
that might edge this out a little bit. So I'm not. Yeah, I can't say that this is like, oh, this is like
I
stunning.
mean,
It's amazing. The PS5 version amazing. I don't see it. It has good textures and stuff, but it's not fantastic or anything.
to be honest, like From Software has never been like the forefront of graphics. Like they look good enough in general.
Yeah.
I mean,
So
the only time that anybody's been wowed by the graphics of a From Software game is when other company did a remake of it.
Blue Point.
No, not Blue Point. Yeah, Blue Point. Yeah, Blue Point.
yeah. So where I would say like, yeah, if you had to if I put up this footage against and then play Demon Souls remake and put up that footage, you would say Demon Souls looks better than this, right? I would
Wow.
say. Whereas, but the trade off is like Demon Souls is what it is. It's a smaller game, and what they're going for is. I was like trying to figure out as I was walking around. I'm like, how did they take this engine and make the map so huge, right? Where I'm like, okay, I'm gonna go this way, I'm gonna go that way. I spent a lot of time, and I have to cut down my footage to the interesting tidbits because I spent a lot of time like, I'm gonna run in this direction, I'm gonna run over here, I'm gonna see what that big motherfucker over there is doing. Like, and you just run over there, and I'm like, wow, you could never do that before. You're on your set paths in everything, Bloodborne, even Sekiro. You can't just wander around. Like, although Sekiro did have big set pieces in areas, but those areas were contained still. This is not really that contained. So
Mm.
they took this same engine and made that possible. So I'll give them credit for that.
Cool. All right, let's move on. Next question is actually related, actually.
Oh.
Chakzilla, he goes, I was looking to get into the Soul series or Sekiro after hearing all the positive Elden Ring feedback. What is the best game by From Software, and what game is easiest to get into or start the Soul series with? Are any of the games easier than the others, or are they all super hard? Thank you, love the show. Thanks for listening to
Thank
us,
you.
man.
Yeah, thank you.
So yeah, where do you recommend he starts?
Demon Souls remake.
I would
Uh,
actually say Bloodborne.
you know what? I'm gonna agree with Tony and say he should start with Bloodborne.
Yeah.
I honestly, I was thinking about this when I read the question, and I don't think he should start with Demon Souls because the controls are the least polished out of all the games. Like he was, if you was to say like, I just want to start with a Souls game, not
Yeah.
Born or anything, then I would say, all right, play Dark Souls 3 first. It's the
Yeah.
most polished combat out of all of them. They had figured out everything. The combat is like perfect in that game. It's a chef's kiss.
But that makes
Demon
it hard
Souls
to go
is
back to or back
it it
from.
it does, but he's not necessarily going to play every single game in the series, right? You
Yeah.
know,
We don't know
so
that.
if
Yeah.
he wants to just play the best one, the most polished Souls game is Dark Souls 3. And then to say what game, but out of all of them, what game he should start with, I do agree with Tony. He should start with Bloodborne, not
Yeah.
Sekiro. Don't start with Sekiro because Sekiro doesn't have the feel of a Soulsborne game at all. I mean,
Yeah.
Sekiro, you don't have a shield, you just have one weapon. You have your sword, and you are parrying that entire game. You better have your eye hand coordination on point to survive in Sekiro.
Yeah, because I originally wanted to say Demon Souls, but yeah, it's just missing a lot of things that the later games have. A lot of quality of life stuff, you know. And I feel Demon Souls 3 is also another good candidate, to be honest, you know. But I would say if you're just like really new. By the way, all the games are fucking challenging. There's no easy game. They're all you need to
They're
be
all
on
hard.
point
Yes.
when you play them. None of them are going to
Yes.
give you any slack. But Bloodborne, just because it's a little bit faster paced, you know, and it's also more of a one-off. You don't need to have. I mean, even though you know you the stories are not in your face like that, but I feel that's a better one. But I would not argue with Dark Souls 3 either. That's a pretty good introduction as well. So either of those two. I'm going to lean towards Bloodborne, but either of those two would be good. And then you could go back if you want and see how the series has evolved. You know, because Demon Souls 3. I mean, Dark Souls. Yeah, like remember, Chris, when we were playing, I was like, yo, where's the fucking bonfire? The boss is right there. It's like, no, you only get one bonfire. That's it. It's like, what the
Yeah.
fuck? You know? So, yeah. So that's my recommendation. Anybody else?
I haven't played all the games, so I can't really suggest anyone specifically. So yeah,
I still recommend Demon Souls for the simple idea of if you get into the games, I think you're going to want to play the other ones. And while you can suffer a slight degradation in graphics, by slight, maybe unused a little bit, but it was really tough to go back to Demon Souls and feel how, I don't want to say aged the controls were, but they're so much simpler than the later games where you're dealing with, mixing and matching weapons. What can you use, in this hand, like, Demon Souls and like then Dark Souls 1, like you could only use, shield, like you couldn't dual wield weapons, for instance. And that's something I came to rely on when I progressed further and further in the games. I kind of went towards a sword and a spear, which is weird, but it worked out for me. But you go back and play those old games, you don't have that freedom. You don't have the different mechanics. And I would honestly say that the simplest mechanics are in Demon Souls because it's before it evolves. So yeah, it can be restrictive, but I don't think it'll feel restrictive if that's the thing you start with.
All right, man. So there you go. Some things to consider. All right, moving on. Next question here. Mebs, what's going on, brother? Right. He goes, we know some games can be far too long. Assassin's Creed is a good example. What games ended too quickly? For me, games like Dad of War and Titanfall 2 are examples where I wanted more. Yes, you could replay the game all over again, but it's not the same as continuing the character's journey. So yeah, what games did you feel were too short? That you didn't get enough? For me, it's a little bit tough because I'm always like, oh, just replay it. I've never been like, oh, that was too short.
it's weird.
yeah.
It's weird because I don't consider Dad of War short.
I don't
Because
think
of
that
all-
game's short at all.
I don't think that game is short, but I do think the actual main story plot is short.
Yeah. Even though
If
that
you
was
didn't
still
get- if-
long too compared
if you-
to the other
if you
ones.
didn't- But I mean, like, if you look at, like, if you cut out all the additional side questy things that you do in there with the main story plot of that, really, it doesn't take you too far. It really, literally, just stops as soon as you get to the, where you get to at the end, and then that's it. So I mean, I guess there's the conclusion to the story, but like, you really don't have other bosses in the game. You just have that one guy, and then you have some other, maybe one other thing. But it's nowhere near as it doesn't feel as big of a journey as, let's say, the previous God of War games felt, because you're still pretty much in the same environment.
Well, no, I mean you do go to other places and stuff. You go to like a few realms and all that, you know. So I would actually, I still think it's actually longer than the other games. Like, and I'm just talking about just the main quest. I'm not talking about the side stuff. Just the main quest. It's still really long to me. I'm like, that game's long enough. It's I didn't need to play any more of it. You know, the game was just good enough. Titanfall. Here's the thing with Titanfall. Yes, it is short, but it's a FPS game. I don't need those to be more than 5 hours. You know. So that's fine. Yeah, and generally, I can't think of any game that I'm like, oh man, I wanted it to be longer. If that's the case, I'm like, let's go back, play it again. You know, because again, I don't like it when games are just dragged out for the sake of being dragged out, like Assassin's Creed, the modern ones are. You know. But yeah, what about the rest of you guys? Adam, have you had any instances like, man, I wanted this game to be longer?
Well, I was thinking about it. I was like, maybe Max Payne 3? You know, that's the only thing I can think of. Something old like that. Because I remember those Max Payne 1, 2, 3. I was hooked. I was like, shit, keep this going. But then again, no. And then when they did the latest Max Payne, I couldn't wait for that shit to end because it just kept looping the same old scenario. Oh, we got to get here, slow mo your ass off, and try to get to the end. But you know, you're like, everything had to be slow. Remember that? No. Not really, nothing. I'll just go with the cheesy answer. Gears of War, all of them. Fucking keep them going, never end, and put a to be continued and sell me DLC every 2 weeks, and I'll be good.
Yeah. Anybody else? Games that you wanted to be longer?
Yeah. I mean, I kind of understood it, and I knew it was gonna be short, but Miles Morales was like stupidly short. At least the story aspect. I'm kind of different than Tony in his response because he said that he'll just play the game again. And I'm like, nah, I'm not gonna replay that shit. Like, if it feels short, then you know I would have preferred for the story. Like maybe there was more to the story that they could have you know expanded on or you know or shown. But yeah, no, I wouldn't replay a game just because I thought it was too short. I'm like, all right, I know this story already. Let's move on.
Yeah. Yeah, it's just a difference because, like, to me, I always, and I don't do this anymore because games are so fucking long, but I always have more fun on my second playthrough because I already know what's going to happen. So I know the best, most efficient way to play it, and I have more fun that way. Because the first one, you're like, what's going to happen? What's going to happen? You know, it's like, you know, I don't really enjoy that. Like, when I played God of War, I did replay that. I'm like, yeah, I had more fun the second time. Spider-Man, I had more fun the second time. Miles Morales, more fun the second time, but very few games you could do that now because every game's a million fucking hours long. I don't think I've replayed any Assassin's Creed game because you can't.
I did.
Even the older ones, they're like, okay, this is way too long. I can't replay this. You know,
We played Black Flag 2 times on Xbox
Oh,
and
shit. That's
PlayStation,
crazy.
and now I'm on my third time doing it on Switch.
I think
Now
Dragon
I'm not gonna
Quest.
do all the
yeah.
side mission, but just the story.
Yeah, and I didn't finish it, but Dragon Quest 11 is probably the only JRPG I've ever replayed in my life. Again, because JRPGs are too long. I miss games, so I'm like, hey, I had fun. Let's play that again. You know, because just for me, I always have more fun the second time around, but can't do that nowadays. You know,
The only time in recent memory that I could think that I wanted to replay a game like that was Persona 5
yeah, but
Royale.
again, too long. You know,
But yeah, exactly. It's way too long, and I didn't know like how much of the new content would be enough for me to be like, yeah, like it's kind of like a new experience for me. But
yeah. Yo, Adam, you'll like this one because I played Gears of War Ultimate for the first time, 2015.
Yeah.
I replayed that shit like 7 times, man. I fucking loved it, you know, because it was a short game. I'm like, this is great.
Yeah.
Let's do it again. Let's do it again. And I'm always finding the best routes and shit. And I'm
it
like, I
keeps you
missed
moving.
that.
That's what I love about it.
I
just
miss
keeps you
that in
moving.
games, man.
It's-
Yeah.
there's another thing that also happens in that game.
The roadie run.
Roadie run.
You know?
Future. God damn, love that game.
All right.
It was so
Anybody
cool.
else?
And then when they added in Ghostbusters, that was fun too.
Ghostbusters.
Yeah, remember in Ghostbusters they had it too when they were shaking.
Yeah.
moving.
All right. Anybody else?
It's a very
It's a
difficult.
permanent thing because they keep adding it, but they need to add more shit in Fallout 76. I'm running out of shit to do.
Uh-oh. All right.
Yo man, this game's too short.
Yeah, go ahead, Brian.
It's a very difficult question to answer because sometimes games are short and sweet, and that's how they should be.
Yeah.
Because my answer was like, okay, I I I was gonna say Portal 2. You know, like I would have wanted a bit more Portal 2, but then looking back at it, it's like, but the game itself, it did what's meant to do. It did exactly what's meant to do in that time frame, and it did it really well. So, would I want to have an extension of that? Like, not really, because it ends where it should end. You know, unlike
Yeah.
some other things.
Yeah,
You know,
that's
like
my
it just
general
comes
thing
like
too.
a nice natural end. It's like, okay, I am happy with that because it ended there, and it's not just stuffed in with like more and more content. So yeah,
Like The Last of
Yeah.
Us 2. Yo, I was like, yo, I'm playing this game, Last of Us 2. I'm like, this game's pretty good, you know? And then I'm like, oh, we're getting to the end of Ellie's thing. This is dope. And then you get another 8 hours of fucking Abby. I'm like, what? Why? The game was about to end. What happened? You know? So it's like, come on, man. Just a bunch of filler,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah, it's one of those things you also have to be careful what you wish for because yeah, like Brian mentioned, Portal 2. Portal 2, I think, is the perfect length for a Portal game.
I agree.
And honestly, a lot of times the player doesn't know when that limit is where it just becomes like from a perfect playthrough to it's dragging a little bit, and it does cut from the experience. Like for example, I mentioned Miles Morales, I'm like, can I deal with 2 more hours of hey, hola, mommy?
Yeah,
No.
you know.
But
I think that game was good enough, you know, lengthwise, you know.
Carlos
I think
Carlos wants the Spanish DLC for Miles Morales.
yeah, I want the Spanish dub.
You know?
No, I was actually sort of curious. I never found it yet, but I was curious to see what the Spanish dub sounds like. Did he have bad Spanish pronunciation in that one too?
Yeah, right. That's funny. All right, I think everybody went. Move on here. All right, Mebs. Okay, Capcom announced that it was very happy with sales of Resident Evil 3. How many units of a game need to be sold for it to be deemed a success? Perhaps the amount the game sells isn't a measure of its success. I'm sure there are many metrics to consider, such as it being a existing AAA game like Call of Duty compared to a new IP like Kena. There are instances I thought a game hadn't done well, like Sea of Thieves, but was completely wrong when I heard about the community that still plays it. Here's the thing about like sales and all that. It depends on the company, right? It depends on the company. It depends on how much the game costs, marketing, all that stuff. Like for example, right? You got to use the main one here, Square Enix, right? The first Tomb Raider game that they released in 2013, this game sold 5 million copies like the first 3 months. That was a failure to them, right? Any other company, they sell that many copies, they'll be like, this is a fucking success, you know? And then you have Sony going, hey, Returnal's a great success, 500,000, you know? So it depends. There is no like set industry standard, you know? But
Yeah,
like you said,
if
yeah, go ahead.
if Returnal sells 3 million copies, everyone's celebrating like it's the fucking at the end of the Battle of Endor and the
Yeah.
Return of the Jedi. If Call of Duty sells 3 million, it's DEFCON 1.
They're shutting down.
exactly.
They're shutting down.
Yeah.
All DLC coming back. Season passes coming back.
Yeah.
Which well, I'm
Black
even
Ops
going.
5.
Like, I
Modern
don't know if you
Warfare.
saw the report for in the UK. Apparently, the digital and physical sales have dropped for like 44%. Yeah, so they
Damn.
from Vanguard, and they're just trying to figure out what's causing it. If it's because of the title, because it's Call of Duty Vanguard, not Black Ops, or just one of the main ones, or if people getting confused. Like you said before, remember when we talked to a lot of people didn't even know a new one came out.
Yeah, no one knew.
You
Yeah.
know, so because the way they kept hyping Vanguard, which was just an add-on to the Warzone experience, and that could be a case, or maybe everyone's just holding off for the holidays and saying, you know what, we're so close to Black Friday, and that's when the
But
prices
that's
start
always
dropping.
been that way with Call
That's
of
always
Duty. You
that's
know?
always, but that's the point, because Cold War had slow sales going in, and now it's surpassed. It's the highest grossing Call of Duty of all time.
Yeah.
It's beating all of them, Modern Warfare, all of them. And that came out of nowhere because at first, when it launched, it was like, no one's really sort of playing it. The physical, of course, dropped because it was in the heart of the Rona. So it was all digital, and they were like, yeah, it's going to hurt, it's going to hurt. But over time, it just picked up. So who knows? Who knows?
Yeah. Yo, Carlos, you just reminded me of this joke Chris Rock said. This was like 20 years ago. He was like, yo, if Bill Gates suddenly had Oprah money, he'd kill himself. You know?
Oh,
That's true.
You just reminded me of that with that analogy, you know? But yeah, it's all dependent on, return on investment and shit. So there is no industry standard. And then, like you said, look what happened with Sea of Thieves, right? That game bombed initially, and now it picked up, because of Twitch and all that. So yeah, very different metrics for success now. I still personally go with sales, to be honest, or money made, not really sales, because that could get a little iffy now, but money made. I think that's still a good general measure of success. Like, hey, if this game costs X amount of money to make and you make double that, I'm pretty sure that would be considered a success, by any metric. But yeah, it's just crazy. Call of Duty sold 3 million. That's it. It's like, what the fuck? What's going on here? Meanwhile, Returnal sells 3 million. Excuse me.
And the Game Pass it just changes everything.
It does.
Well, also maybe it's also the metric is also based on how much it actually took to make the game.
Yeah, return on investment. Yeah, because
Yeah. So obviously for a game like Call of Duty, it takes millions and almost billions of dollars to make those games, right?
They're doing the same shit every year, so I don't know.
They're doing the
margins.
I mean,
because they're paying the actors and shit.
The budget. I mean, here's the thing: the budgets on those things don't get any smaller every year.
Yeah.
Despite them supposedly using a lot of the same frameworks. So, where's all that money going?
To the actors,
you're still shipping a monthly title. I mean, not a monthly, a yearly title. I mean, granted, it's not taking a year for them to develop. It's probably like, the usual 3 or 4 years.
Yeah, because remember, they have different studios doing them. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, so there is no set thing in stone when it comes to success. Every company has different metrics for different games, man.
The profits are not set.
Yes. All right, let me just set this up real quick, and we'll go to the next question. All right, this got a couple here from Logic Wins, who's been joining us all night, man. Oh, this is interesting. Okay, 2021 was a massive year in gaming for women in lead roles. Lady D from RE Village, I don't consider that one. It's like, bro, Danny from Far Cry 6, Celine from Returnal, Samus from Metroid Dread, Rivet from Ratchet & Clank, Xion from Tales of Arise, Rachel from House of Ashes, Polina from Call of Duty Vanguard, and Juliana from Deathloop. A lot of examples there. I like that. Very thorough. So his questions are, we got 2 questions here. First one, have we finally solved the quote-unquote lack of female inclusion in gaming issue, or is there still more work to be done? My thing is, I don't think it was ever a problem. We've had female protagonists in gaming since the jump. Samus.
Lara Croft.
Lara Croft, so I don't think it was ever an issue. Like, maybe if you want to say, like, have they become, like, better represented? Sure. Like, they're not just, like, a bunch of sexy women around and stuff, like, in that end. But, like, women in gaming they've always been protagonists, even with fighting games. Like, a bunch of the rosters had a bunch of women in too. So, I don't never think it was that much of an issue. It's just maybe the way they were portrayed has gotten better, But again, it's like Samus was portrayed great from the jump. She's a badass bounty hunter, Granted, it did have the stupid bikini thing, so maybe that was a little bit silly. But yeah, I don't really see it as that it was ever an issue. To be honest, that's just my opinion. I don't think it ever was.
And then there was other M.
Oh, yeah.
which literally ripped all of the good parts of Samus out to make her essentially a cliche.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, I agree. I don't think that the lack of women, there was a lack of female protagonists. I think the problem was, I think in general, the representation of women has changed a lot since a lot of those games. Now a lot of the main characters are not like what Lara Croft originally was. She wasn't. She was kind of more of a TNA sort of character, and then with the new versions of it, they sort of they solidified her and made her more of an adventurer type. You know.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, granted, it's like, what is gaming? Gaming is about fantasies. Gaming is about being something that you would never be. So why would there be any? I mean, maybe some people have issues with it, but all the people I know who ever played any games have never had any issue with playing a female protagonist or a male protagonist.
Yeah. Yeah. Anybody, because I'm pretty sure there are some people like that who say that shit. Like, that's stupid, dude. Who cares? It's a character. You're playing a character.
Yeah,
male or
it's a
female.
character.
Yeah, it doesn't matter.
Yeah, you're playing as the character. So what's the unless the character is egregious and horrible.
Yeah.
But again, like the main idea of creating a main protagonist is so that they're you sort of like the person that you're playing. I don't
Yeah.
know. And I mean, yeah, Lady D is not not a protagonist. She is an antagonist.
Yeah, and she's
and
only
you
in the
never
game for like 20 minutes.
Yeah, you never actually get to play her, but one thing about her is that she did end up being the sort of poster child for the game, because you don't get to see what Ethan looks like.
Yeah. Does anybody else want to jump in on this? Do you think there was ever an issue?
Well, I want to talk about the idea of a term known as firefighter arson. Are you guys aware of that?
No,
by any chance?
please let us know.
So basically, it's a phenomenon where there's a bunch of firefighters who are also arsonists. I'm sure that Brett can get to where I'm trying to get to
I've
here.
heard that.
Oh yeah, I know where you're going with this.
Yeah, so basically, it's a bunch of people who make up problems, i.e., they set stuff on fire, and as firefighters, they can go in and save the day, so that there's always a problem for them to fix.
Okay, I see what you're getting at.
Yeah, I think this is just modern day version of firefighter arson, where there never was a problem with women in games. Like, the only people that had a problem with women in games are people that, for the most part, we shouldn't care about because their opinions are stupid by definition. We can all agree on that one. So it's just a case of like, yeah, there never really was a problem. It's just people just want to yell about it. And the fact that there's now more of it, again, for the most part, most of us just don't even care about it. Like, okay, cool. It just, again, because we just see it as it's just more games. More games is fine. We have no problems with that. But then the problem is that the people who complain about not being females, they will never be satisfied with it. They'll always, they must have a problem. They must have a fire to fight. So as long as they keep setting up like all these fires and saying, "Oh, this game has no females," or "That game has no females," that's their fire to fight. And even if there's no more fires left, they will still make fires so that they have stuff to complain about. So these people will never be satisfied. They'll keep saying, "Oh, this game needs to have more females. That game needs to have more females." They just start throwing females in everything that makes no sense. I mean, at some point they'll come out and say, "Oh, this car needs to be female because we need more female cars." It's like, it's a car game. Like, there's no male and female. They'll go down that route. And I know that it sounds dumb, but I'm seeing people being mad that in Shin Megami Tensei 5, people are annoyed that there's no female and male character options, even though that the main character, you could reasonably say that the main character is non-binary, but yeah, people are still mad like, "Oh, there's no gender options." It's like, kind of defeats the purpose, bro. So yeah, people will always find a problem to be mad at in these cases. So there's no winning with those people. To me, more games with more characters, great. Can't argue with that.
Yeah. All right, there you go. Next question, also on the same topic, and also from Logic Wins. Okay, do we have any data that proves that increased female inclusion in games directly translates into more women buying games? Although I'm sure it happens, I've never witnessed a woman make a gaming purchase for her personal enjoyment. You need to find some female gamers, bro, because there's plenty of them that buy their own
Yeah.
games. So yeah, you just need to find some more female gamers. But the thing is, the last time I checked, which was, what is it, like a year ago, it's 50-50, at least in America, when it comes to people who play games, men and women. It's pretty down the middle now. So that data tracks that. But no, plenty of women buy games. You need to find some female gamers, bro.
Like, I already know my daughter's going to be one of them.
know?
She'll play any game that has a female character that she can either create or play as. She'll just give it a benefit of doubt. So it's like, if I recommend a game, she's like, "Can I be a girl? Is there a girl?" Yes, you can. Okay, then let me see, and that's it.
Yeah.
So.
Well, Blitz. It's funny you mentioned that because I was thinking the same thing the instant we started talking about this stuff. He goes, "This is a panel of all guys. You probably need to ask some females if there's a problem. Remember, this is a question show, bro. We're just answering what we get. We didn't go, oh, let's get a female in here, get her perspective. It would be great. Don't get me wrong, but we're just answering the questions as we get them, and we answer them to the best of our abilities. But I don't disagree with you because I thought the same thing. I'm like, it's just a bunch of guys answering this shit. But you make the best of what you got, bro.
Yeah, and also I also think that it's different. It's different strokes for different folks. Granted, like those of us who have significant others who also played games. I don't think, at least from my girlfriend, she never really, just because a female.
Maybe should we do that? I don't know how Jocelyn would feel. Like, would she feel comfortable answering this question? I don't know, man.
She's never. I mean, would Kristen also be comfortable answering this question?
Yeah, because we can literally get these two women on right now if you guys really feel that's important.
But I think that in general, like, at least not to speak for her, but I know in general that she had never cared whether the character is a male or a female. She just played the game. She just played it because she liked it. One of her favorite games was freaking Wolfenstein and Doom. Or she loved the Resident Evil franchise and stuff like that. Same thing with Kristen. I mean.
Kristen loves Resident Evil,
See, that's like her favorite franchise.
She also loves Legend of Zelda.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I don't know. At least maybe they're a minority in that sort of situation, but I don't think they've ever said, okay, I need to play this because there's a woman in there. I want to play this because it looks cool.
Yeah, and I think that's how most gamers are, male, female. They're like, I want to play a cool game, which is ultimately what matters. But I like the questions, man.
But for Adams, for my my I guess my second cousin, right? That would be.
Yeah,
I would think. I would say for her it's important because
she
because
wants
of
to
the
be
character.
represented. She wants to see it.
Because of the character, because because of the agency over characters in general.
Yeah.
She said that can I make a female character in this game? So she wants to see herself in that world.
Yeah,
so,
and I think if a game can do it, get the options in there. Why not? Obviously, if narrative reasons, you may not always be able to do it, and you want to make it natural, whatever. But yeah, give the options if applicable. I don't think there's anything wrong with that.
Oh, here's a question because you guys may know this. My daughter asked me because we were talking about Zelda and the Legend of Zelda, and she said, is there ever a game where you can play as Zelda in the story, or is it always just Link trying to get to Zelda or do whatever? I don't know.
The only one is I mean, it's a spin-off, but you play Hyrule Warriors, and I think you can play as her. You can play as the champions and a whole bunch of other characters besides Link.
Brett?
No, you pretty much can't. I mean, this story is kind of locked in like that. It would honestly be a little weird to play a Zelda game where you just kind of like didn't have a Link, unless she got the Triforce of Courage.
That's like, what if she was trying to save him?
Well, then she would have the Triforce of Courage, and he would have the Triforce of Wisdom, which I don't think would fly well.
But wouldn't it be called the Legend of Link at that point, because it's always about the opposite person?
Yeah, because he would be the person being held captive. He'd be the important person. But see, then you'd have to take, because you'd have to take the dynamic and flip it on its head, which I can also see being problematic. So you have a woman who is now risking her life for this guy. She is a Triforce of Courage. He is the Triforce of Wisdom. He's smarter than she is. He knows what's going on. He's the big brain behind the thing. Oh, and also he's royalty, and his life is inherently worth more than hers. But she has a bow and arrow. Like it's Zelda. It's unfortunately the whole dynamic is kind of damselly, but it's not necessarily. I don't think maybe I'm wrong here. I don't think it's one of those like toxic things because Zelda's always been an integral part of the story. It's just the part that she plays isn't as much fun to play as the player. So yeah, you could swap that, but I don't know how you would do it without just doing a straight role reversal. Yeah, I know that's kind of ham-fisted. So
Yeah.
now a thing that they really didn't play enough with was in Ocarina of Time, Shiike. Like that was a really badass character, and you play as her in like Smash Brothers. That's fun, but that was the only iteration you ever saw of like badass Princess Zelda.
All right, there you go. All right.
I guess that
Yeah, go ahead.
again, of course I need to add something to it. I guess again, it's a very difficult question to answer. I guess to add to what Manny and Chris were saying, with my girlfriend, for the most part, she doesn't really care that much. Because as long as it's Harry Potter, she'll be happy because she likes that as a franchise. So anything that's Harry Potter, we buy, we play, and we enjoy. That's kind of how that works. In terms of myself, like, that I don't really care. Like, I think it's come up to 600 hours now on Monster Hunter, and I'm role-playing as Ciri from The Witcher because she's a monster hunter. This game's called Monster Hunter, so duh. So yeah, 600 hours as a female. It's just a thing that I did because I wanted to do that, and I have no issue with it. So I guess to answer the question, you could reasonably argue and say yes, there is an increase in sales because there is the option and there's no more females there, so hence there is some amount of females more that buy the game. But how much that is, I wouldn't say that it's not enough to warrant a big overhaul of the whole system and say, oh gosh, it's an untapped market. Like, no, it's probably just a slight increase because again, the majority of people that are already buying games, they would buy it anyway. So hence just adding probably a fraction to that. And if that fraction is worth it, then I guess so. If not, then people will still buy it. I mean, people bought GTA and all guys in there, But then at the same time, how many of us here have bought Metroid? How many of us here have bought Bayonetta? It's like we bought these games and played them, not because there's a man in there, let's buy the game. Like no, because we liked the game, so we bought the game. So for most people, they just don't really care about that. They just care about if it's a fun game, and that's why they buy it. So
yeah, Brian, can I also tag on to kind of what you said earlier about firefighter arsonists, in that people want to make, they want to beat the band for, how progressive people can get, and how progressive a show can get, or what have you. I recently read an article talking about, and then somebody had put this out as like new news about what a progressive movie the original Alien movie was.
I remember reading
a diverse
that.
cast.
Yeah, I remember reading that.
And it had a strong female lead. And here's the funny thing: when that movie came out, nobody fucking batted an eye. They're like, "Cool, group of people, strong ass chick, let's do this." Nobody put it on a pedestal because it wasn't honestly that uncommon. I had this weird sneaking suspicion that we've somehow drifted into the territory of we've shot ourselves in the foot with our role models so long by acting like each one is the exception to the rule that the idea of a strong female is now considered kind of the other. And I don't know how we got to that point, because all these people fucking preaching from the mountaintops want to talk about like, oh, well, we've been pushing the fight. Well, apparently you've just been making shit worse.
Well, I mean, it's funny because I think a lot of times what happens is people don't look back these days and I feel like it's a lot harder for people to look back these days, especially when you have to specifically look when essentially for a lot of us, who grew up in the age of when you didn't control what television did. We saw aliens, we saw all these things, we saw, like, I mean, you go back to anything like, something like a lot of the old 70s shows or 60s shows. There was a pure, they had a multicultural, multi-raced, casts, and different of and all those different sexes. All of a sudden now it's seen as something as, is progressive. Was already there, you just weren't looking, and you just assumed that everything that was old was just racist and sexist, just racist and sexist, which is not the truth.
Kind of going back to a conversation we are having off air. Again, it just boggles my mind how we have access to all this stuff, and people are just more ignorant than ever. But you're right.
Well,
it's
they're
like
ignorant. It's not an accident. It's on purpose. Now, people preaching this from the mountaintop, man. They're the ones that are preaching. They're the activists. They get their jollies off this way.
It's like going back to like Power Rangers. You're like, oh my God, there are two females on an action show. There's a black kid. Come on.
Yeah, if you would have been paying
disagree.
attention instead of just bitching, then you would have found out that we've been trying to solve this and deal with this for many years now. Maybe come to be part of the solution.
That was the
I
thing.
disagree with Brett.
The thing
right.
about
You know what? I think we should probably cut
good.
this off before we go deeper into the rabbit hole.
Yeah, sure.
Can I say just one line?
And then the last thing, nobody jump in after Carlos. I want to go on because we're already getting on dicey water here.
It's I disagree with Brett. It's not done on purpose. It's much easier to be ignorant on something and just paint with broad brushes. And I think that's what's done. That's what's being done in a lot of things, not just video games, in a ton of other mediums. And yeah, I think that's just what this is.
Right.
I get it. And Tony, I'm not going to touch on the subject again, but I will say there is an irony about I can't talk about how I love diverse things because diversity.
Ain't that something? All right. Move on here. Dumeke, who's also been joining us all night, man. All right, first question. Is it time for gamers, mainly console gamers, to realize we are never going to see the same huge jump in graphics that we saw from PS1 to PS2 to PS3? It seems many continue to expect to be wowed, but end up being disappointed. Also, we need to come to terms with longer stretches of console games being released, cross-gen games being released. Then he goes, personally, I blame PC. I don't know why. This is we've talked about this before. By the way, to make, if you could explain that last part, that please do, unless you guys get it. But we've talked about this on the show. This is something I've personally had to contend with. I'm like, yeah, we're never going to see those big graphical jumps again. We are not.
That is untrue.
Well, okay, please show me how, because you've seen the diminishing returns already.
Yeah, well, I mean, like, what do you? How much more graphic fidelity do you want than photorealistic? I mean, hell, some games now look like super ultra realistic, where you don't even have the depth of field that normal human perception does. Everything's in hyper focus all the time, and everything's super fucking glossy. Like, we've just reached a ceiling because we're not.
So you agree with me then?
No, because if you were playing anything but mechanically limited mass appeal games, you would know that VR is going through this exact thing right now. You have such a much higher computational demand on it that it knocks down the graphics, and everybody wants to talk shit about that. But those graphics are going to accelerate at the same breakneck speed that the things did before, because they're still developing it. Where you're looking at the one subset of mass market, highly polished, fully done games. It's had time to mature as an industry, right? If you look at games like Minecraft, the reason Minecraft looks that way wasn't a stylistic choice because somebody liked fucking Legos. It was because that game could not run, and honestly still has problems running sometimes because of the fact that it renders every goddamn block in the whole world at once. Now, does that afford different types of gameplay? Sure. Does it also knock you back in graphics? Absolutely. But if we're talking about the Assassin's Creed, Ubisoft, open world missions on a fucking waypoint map, blah, 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 yeah, we've reached the pinnacle of that. But I don't think that saying just because we can't make a prettier Assassin's Creed game means that the evolution of video games has stopped.
That's not what he's saying though. He's saying, and I agree that we're not going to see those same types of jumps that we did before.
You will though. That's the thing though. Like,
but how?
Not,
you literally just said we've reached the plateau.
Only
if you've reached the plateau,
are we only talking about Assassin's Creed here?
No, we're talking about
Is
everything.
Assassin's Creed the only video game?
No, we're talking about every video game, right? And think about what you just said. You said you used VR as an example. So what I heard was like, okay, now we got to wait for VR to catch up to where we currently are graphically.
Well, do you want it to catch up, or are you sad that it's not caught up yet? Are you sad that there's no room to grow?
No, I am saying that we are never going to see the same type of graphical jump that we saw from like the Genesis to the PS1, from the PS1 to PS2. We're not seeing that anymore. We're just going to see these incremental steps. We already saw it 2 generations in a row, right? When we got
do you think like 720 to 4K is not an equivalent jump?
No, it isn't. It is not.
And the thing about it is it's barely 4K.
Yeah, it is not at all because it's still the same polygon count. You know that hasn't changed. It's still the same textures.
I'm not talking about our current system, man. I'm talking about a true 720p broadcast versus a 4K broadcast. You don't think that's an equivalent jump?
No, I don't, because it's still the same polygon. It's still the same textures. You know, it hasn't changed.
Okay, now imagine if they were rendered in native 720 and native 4K.
But it's still the same polygon count, man. That hasn't changed. You know?
I mean, it's like
okay, why is it the same polygon count?
Because it is. I don't know. I don't make fucking games.
It's the same polygon count because they don't make more polygons for fucking games that are going to be used across multiple displays.
Yeah. But again, think about it.
In 10 years, they might actually start programming shit for 4K instead of just upscaling textures. And that's the kind of shit that I'm talking about. If you're looking at video games exactly as the way they are, sure, we are not going to see that kind of jump. And most likely, we're not going to see a lot of it in the mainstream because people refuse to take the graphical downgrade. We could have games evolving, or
what the hell are you talking about? We're talking about upgrading, not downgrading. I'm just confused. I'm trying to nail down what you're speaking about here. Even the guys in the chat, like, what? Well, the thing, you've been going on for 5 minutes. I'm still don't know what the hell you're talking about. You're literally agreeing with me, but you're going in a weird circumventing type of way to disagree. I don't understand where you're getting at.
Let's say we made Assassin's Creed a better game, right? Like, let's say we actually upgraded it from 15 fucking years ago when the mechanics were laid in place. In order to upgrade it, we wouldn't be able to keep the same graphics that we have, which is the reason that we haven't seen video games mechanically evolve the way that they have picture-wise.
Right, we're not talking about mechanics. We're talking about just the visuals.
Oh my god. I'm telling you that the reason that they haven't upgraded since then is because there's nowhere else to go, and nobody is allowing video games to upgrade. Nobody's allowing them to continue to evolve this way. And, you know, if it makes it easier, just look at it this way. VR is adapting just as fast.
Okay.
Because you used to get grainy below 720, and now you're creeping up on 4K.
Well,
but that's like saying, handhelds are catching up. We're talking about the pinnacle. We're not talking about something that's still trying to catch up.
But you're acting like we can't go any further. We're not going to see development further.
No, I'm saying we're not going to see the types of jumps we've seen in the past. You've already said we've plateaued. That means we can't go any further. That's it.
In terms of the things that we're showing on the screen, sure.
Thank you. That's what we're talking about, dude. We're not talking about all this other stuff.
Oh well, to interject, you're like you mentioned going from 2D to 3D. That was technically a downgrade because we went up a dimension, but we went down in graphical fidelity
for a little bit. What I'm saying,
we haven't been doing that. We've just been. Nobody is willing to accept a game that doesn't look less than perfect. So we've been accepting dumber and dumber fucking games. The only reason that we wouldn't see a graphical upgrade is because we've refused any of the downgrades that would have allowed video games to evolve in the last 15 years. And in a perfectly natural ecosystem that's not done by huge AAA titles, you're seeing other things like, even just down to like the difference in what Elder Scrolls used to be compared to what Elder Scrolls is now is fucking mind-boggling, right? But then somebody's going to say, well, Elder Scrolls has always looked bad. Well, Elder Scrolls was doing a vastly larger world than everything else. So, yeah.
Well, I mean, you're talking about the justification of the actual mechanics of the game compared to the actual graphics.
I'm saying we won't allow ourselves anything less than perfect graphics, which is the only reason we don't have anywhere to go.
So, in other words, you agree?
Sure.
All right, there you go.
I think you're all wrong. I think you're all wrong, and I'm not going to circumvent to agree with you, Tony. So
you're all wrong.
So I think we still have a ways to go. I don't think we've reached anywhere near the pinnacle. I mean, we've been saying for the last 2 decades that that Ratchet and Clank looks like a Pixar movie, and no, it hasn't. Neither did the last one, but they've all increased and gotten better, and it initiates the response saying, "Oh, it looks like a Pixar game." It actually, this is finally the Pixar game I've always wanted to play, because we're still going up. The reason, and I think there's different discussions here. I think the one of the ones that I think Tony is referencing mostly is the graphical leap between the end and the initiation of the generation. So going,
yeah, but he's only looking at the top graphics.
Yeah, but that's what the question is. And Carlos, here's my question to you though: do you honestly believe we're going to have a huge graphical jump between PS5 and PS6?
Yeah, but I don't think there'll be like a noticeable day one. I think by the end of PS6, which one did you start with? PS5 or PS4?
PS5.
Yeah. But by the end of PS6, we'll clearly see. Wow, this was a big difference. Obviously, it's hard to when you're starting from the bottom. When you're starting from Pong, obviously the S curve is barely starting. We're reaching a point where it's going to eventually saturate, but I don't think we're near that yet.
Yeah, but I mean, do you honestly believe we're going to see like the huge type of jump we did from like PS1 to PS2? I don't think so. I think we're just going to see incremental like little steps. But
PS1 to PS2 wasn't. It wasn't as. I don't think it's as big as you think it was. I mean, it wasn't
really compared to PS1 games to PS2 games, man.
Dude, you're discounting like the 2 years where they were still in transition.
Yeah, but they still looked very different. Even those shitty PS2 original launch games still look better.
I think the biggest, because let's use your example, PS1 to PS2. I don't think that comes even a fucking anywhere near NES to SNES. I think that was a bigger.
But that's my point. We keep getting diminishing returns every generation.
I agree with that.
Yeah, I've been saying that. So you're right. It keeps getting lesser and lesser every time.
But we still got a ways to go. I just don't agree with the narrative saying that we've reached the pinnacle. We're nowhere near.
No, we're not at the pinnacle, but we're not gonna see the big jumps anymore. It's just gonna be little leaps. That's all.
Well, we won't. We won't see them. We won't see them day one. That's the issue, and that's another thing. We're doing all this cross-generational bullshit where developers are going to develop PS4 games for 3 years into the life cycle of the PS5.
Yeah, which is going to make things worse.
It's going to make things worse, and people, we still won't see until the last game that comes out. The Last of Us 3, Abby's Return or Revenge.
Oh God!
And that's gonna, because I mean, even compare The Last of Us 1 to The Last of Us 2, and not The Last of Us 1 remastered edition, the original one.
Yeah.
Versus The Last of Us 2 on the PS4 Pro, it looks ridiculously better. It's night and day.
I don't know about night and day, baby. Afternoon and evening or something.
Well, I mean, even The Last of Us 1's performance was really bad.
Yeah.
So I think that also attributes to it. But yeah, we still got a long way to go. Obviously, we're like
but
I
think about
mentioned,
it, you're kind of proving the point though. You're going to only see these at the end of the generation, which is basically we're taking the long road there instead of like, oh shit, look at this,
dude. It's always been that way.
No, it hasn't. When you jump from 8-bit to 16-bit, that was a huge fucking jump.
Okay, 8-bit to 16-bit, dude. That was like 30 years ago.
Yeah, but that's my
like, no,
point.
and that's not the
Brett,
question.
No,
The
no,
question was
yes,
like
it is. He is in the chat right now, literally saying that's exactly what he's saying. That we're never going to
Okay.
see that again. You know, and I 100% agree with him.
Well,
I feel
We're
like-
never going to see that again.
I feel
No,
it,
but-
and oh, go ahead, Brent.
it depends on how you look at it. I mean, will we see a double in computational power? No. Will we see 8 bits of difference in evolution? Oh yeah, absolutely. Every single fucking day. I'm pretty sure each game coming out is going to be at least 8 bits bigger, or 8 bits more than the last one.
Brett, just to clarify, we're not every generation doesn't double in computational power. It probably quadruples, quintuples.
Well,
But,
that's what I'm saying. Like, it's if we're looking, are we going to see something that that's literally doubles? Probably not. Are we going to see something that is an equivalent? Yeah, I just think it throws off the metrics when you're like, it only had 8 bits, man. 8 bits to 16 bits. It's not a huge jump. I mean, it's double, but it's not a huge jump.
Well, look at some NES games compared to SNES games, and
Yeah,
you
but
know.
those were the NES games, not versus the SNES games. They weren't the launch ones.
Even
rather.
like shit like Pilot Wings and Super Mario World look better than anything on NES. You know.
Some of them, but what we always say with every single console generation, it takes 2 to 3 years for them to actually take advantage of the power of the system. We don't see that overnight thing happening anymore.
But it's also
Yeah.
in terms of where the computational power is going towards. It's like, is it
That
going
was my whole
towards?
point, but that don't argue that point.
Yeah. Again,
Yeah,
I'm,
like
I'm
if
sticking with the
if-
spirit of the question. By the way, he's already upset. He's like, you guys took this in a way different direction. He just mainly disagrees with Brett's assessment. Oh man, like Brett, I see what you're talking about with all this other stuff, but that's not the heart of the question. Basically,
Okay, here let
yeah.
me put it this way because I think this is better, and it's very simple. The best looking games are hard to improve upon. Will we see that kind of graphical improvement with the rest of the games? Very possibly. The games that are currently being held back by things computational wise, like we'll see those still evolve at a breakneck speed. But that's just because there's not a glass ceiling there. The ones that are 4 hours long, nothing but set pieces and look amazing, well, yeah, there's not a lot under the surface. We've been able to do that for fucking ever. Now the question is, can we make the other games look like that?
Yeah, I guess we probably won't, because it costs too much money. That's the problem.
No, we are. That's the thing. That's what I'm saying. Like, that's why I use Skyrim as an example, man. Like, that thing didn't look good because it had limits put on it. But it has been evolving at a damn near breakneck speed, and now it actually looks good. And to go from like looking like hot polygon trash to looking really good with full light sourcing in less than 10 years, or in about 10 years, like, kind of a big, that's a quick progression. But it's not the apex of gaming. It's not the prettiest gaming. The prettiest gaming is the ones that are, most restrictive, the fucking the orders of the world, right? They're able to get away with super high polished textures because there's not running a whole lot. And are we going to look better than those? No, but will those be a greater portion of the games? Yeah, absolutely. But it's just tough to polish or to go beyond that level of polish unless you have a more robust game. So no, we won't see that kind of thing with the big prettiest games, but all the other ones that are nowhere near that, sure, why not?
Yeah. But I'm just saying, when we get that PSX, we'll be like, hey, this kind of looks like the PS5. Just like we did for the last 2 generations,
I also want to mention.
Yeah.
I also want to mention that I think games today are getting unfairly judged because they're getting exponentially more complex on what they do. There's characters that have AI. There's different physics. There's global illumination. There's lighting, shadow effects, everything that's taken into account, and you can only increment as the graphic fidelity in terms of textures and all that stuff as high as the it's like you're looking at a graph and there's an x-axis and a y-axis, and you can only go as far as the slope will take you depending on what type of things you want to improve. If you want to do like the Order 1886, you can make that game look like the best game ever made if it's just contained into like a really small space.
Yeah,
But if you're doing
or you don't have to deal with any of the other processes that have to do with making a game. You know, the actual AI of the characters, how the bullets and things react to anything. In other words, you just make a giant, beautiful looking cinematic that has absolutely no AI underneath it, and then you can get those games that look amazing, and they've proven that sort of
Yeah,
stuff before.
yeah. Then your game will be like 5 minutes long. That's the
Yeah.
problem.
Thank
So
Chris for explaining well what I couldn't do in 10 minutes. Fuck you.
Who what?
What?
no,
So that was the point I was trying to make the whole time.
Carlos, yeah,
Couldn't get it out.
yeah. No,
Carlos.
oh,
no,
hey,
yeah,
bro, my
yeah.
name's
I say
Carlos.
It's the C and the R. That's confusing.
I know, I don't know why I said that
yeah.
wrong.
But yeah, that still kind of proves the point too. We're not going to see those kind of jumps
only if you look at it from
because of all these other factors.
Well, my answer would be we won't see them right away.
Yeah,
We'll see 'em
that's
eventually.
the point exactly. It ain't.
Well, I
but
mean,
the thing is, and that's okay too. That's okay. I'm just saying, don't expect those like, oh shit, man, look at the Super Nintendo compared to Nintendo. Them days ain't gonna happen, bro. That's in the past.
I mean, like if we were ever to show any of the modern games to our younger selves when we were saying,
blown
man,
the fuck away.
why don't games look like the cinematics? The cinematics. In fact, the games that we have currently look better than the cinematics we were seeing
way better
in the PlayStation 1 and PlayStation 2.
Yeah.
Era.
So yeah, there is evolution. It's just gradual instead of just like,
Well, not Tony,
right
another
there.
thing, like you're talking between say like the PS2 to PS3, right? If you're talking the beginning of the PS2 to the end of PS3, how many fucking years is that?
End of the PS2, PS3.
That's
No,
5
from
years.
the beginning of the PS2 to the end of the PS3.
Oh yeah, 5 years. 5 years. Yeah, 5 years.
Oh no, the beginning.
The beginning of one to the end of the next.
Oh, to the end of the next. Shit, I don't know. 11 years, something like that. Yeah.
Yeah, so like that between going from a PS2 game to a PS3 game could include 11 years worth of development and progress, right?
Oh
like,
no,
it's
I agree with you.
not
I'm just saying we're
overnight.
not going to see that snap like we
But
used to before.
11 years is not a snap.
Yes, it is. I mean, wait, hold on. 11. I mean, no, 11 years is kind of long though, dude.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah. No, but I'm saying you have a PS2 in your house right now, right? You buy the PS3, you're like, holy shit, this looks way better. You don't have to wait 10 years for that.
There's always been a couple of games that look real pretty, but they're devoid of substance and they're shot like it. Yeah, it's just a big cinematic, and you're like, oh man, I thought this game was going to be really good. Like,
yeah, but again, we're just talking about the graphic. We're not talking about the actual quality of the game because you're right. Some of these games were fucking bullshit, like Lair, but it looked fucking nice, and you saw the actual difference between that generation and the previous one. That's my point.
And let me point out the bouncer for PlayStation 2.
Yeah, that's another one. That game looked fucking fantastic, but that's a whole other conversation right there.
Yeah, PlayStation 1, PlayStation 2, I think was the biggest jump. Like that was the one where you're like, big. Okay. PlayStation 3, it had the cell architecture when it came out, man. Like that shit took a minute to get off the ground. I remember because it was incredibly frustrating. You're like, this thing's supposed to have more power. Where the fuck is all of its power? It didn't really start singing until the end of the generation.
But the 360 showed you what that generation was looking like, and you're like, this shit is way better looking than PS2. That's my point. Understand?
Or Xbox.
Yeah, or even Xbox. Yeah, Xbox 360. You're like, what the fuck? This is crazy right now. You don't get that anymore. You're just like, that looks a little better. Looks good.
Anymore, do we just mean just this last generation?
Well, no, I would argue 2 generations in a row we've been like, when you get the new console, you're like, it doesn't look much better than the shit I got right now, That's my point. When you got that PS2, when you got that 360, you're like, fuck, this looks good, You don't get that anymore.
Yeah,
I've never been hugely particular on like with launch games being absolutely mind blowing. I mean, you think that. A lot of times the images they show you of what it's going to look like, and the videos are like, oh, this is going to be amazing. And then when you get it, those graphics have been severely nerfed to run well.
That has happened. That has happened. Carlos, last thing, and then we got to move. We've been on this thing forever.
But dude, did you not feel that way about Spider-Man? We were just like, holy damn.
Was Spider-Man the one that came out?
Yeah,
no, it looked good, but it wasn't a launch. But it wasn't a launch game, though.
Yeah, just real quick. Obviously, I agree with Tony's point that we won't have it from the jump ever anymore. But just the best example to say that we're still progressing in a rapid rate is just comparing Red Dead Redemption 1 and 2. Is night and day. Those are
Oh yeah,
two
but
completely different games.
yeah, you're right about that. One of them, I believe, Red Dead, the
Well, like
first one,
Revolver,
Red Dead Roll, that's a
and
whole other
Redemption.
thing. But like
Yeah.
Red Dead Redemption, the first one, that was like almost end of the generation, wasn't it? Right.
It was latter half of
And then
360 or
yeah, and the other one, 360, right?
also
Just to be sure. So there was still
360.
a gap. So but you're right about that. We're obviously going to see progression. By the time we see the PS5 games at the end of the show, we're like, holy shit, this looks crazy. But that leap, we agree that leap ain't going to happen anymore. That's just the way it is, man.
Not at the start. Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Good stuff. Let's move on. Kind of related to make it. Would you rather see the current trend of consoles becoming more and more like PCs in design, or would you like to see them go back to the good old days of bespoke chipsets? Forget the cost, etc., associated with bespoke. This is purely for long-term gamers who have seen both sides and the plus minus of each approach. So should we go back to the days of the cell architecture?
No.
Basically what
No.
he's saying. Here's the thing. I used to be of that mindset. I'm like, no, learn the fucking the chipset, learn it, get better at it. I always believed that was the best way of like, you got to make a console that has completely different architecture. Now I'm like, do what's easiest for the fucking developers so we get these games. So if everything's got to be like PC architecture, which it all is, yes, do it that way because it's better for the developers. This is why we're finally getting Final Fantasy games fast, and you know what I'm saying? Because hey, put it on Unreal, let's go.
Yeah, I feel like in general, it doesn't help out the developers in general, and the main thing is to get these titles out, not to be messing around with this funky architecture. Granted, the when you did learn how to use the thing, it actually ended up looking looking nice,
Yeah.
right? But at the same time, you shouldn't need to learn a total, a total different architecture to essentially create the same product. I mean,
Yeah.
granted, in the old days, it wasn't like like a Nintendo. Those two things use two different architectures, and same thing with the PlayStation and stuff. But again, if it matches the generally, it's the generally used, programming languages, why are we going to go, why are you going to go off the rails like that and just do something totally different and essentially, cause a backup in your process? And that's why PlayStation 3 had so many titles that, that was, despite the console being supposedly, being the more powerful of the consoles, they weren't able to take advantage of a lot of the abilities that came easier to the 360.
Yeah, I mean that's what usually happens. Going back to Sega, right? Sega first party developers, they made the best looking Genesis games. They made the best looking Sega Saturn games, but nobody else could replicate that stuff really as well as the Sega guys. So why wouldn't you want it to be that way for everyone? You want everybody to be on the same playing field, right? So yeah, having specific like architectures makes no fucking sense.
I feel like when it came, like, they learned their lesson. Well, I mean, Genesis games, those were fine. They looked like they did because you were able to do it. But I would say the biggest issue was the Sega Saturn and the slapdash way that they tried to do that thing. Then when they went to an architecture that was more openly available with the Dreamcast, they were flipping out games like crazy on that thing.
Yeah. And then kind of related to this question, I'm just going to lump it in here. Do we get better / more creative games when a developer has to work around system limitations or when they have the latest tech?
When they have to work around system
Yeah, like
limitations, they always have to.
Yeah, they
You
always
always
have
have to work around system limitations.
Yeah.
No matter what you're what you're using. I mean, if you look at both the PlayStation and the Xbox currently, they both have very similar architectures. With the exception is I think the Xbox has more processing power or something like that. But I mean, for the most part, they're pretty much the same thing.
Yeah, but each one has their hurdles. So yeah, like it doesn't make you like a better developer or whatever. It's just
I think the one good part of the first party developer is that they're able to take that time to essentially try to to solve those problems. Whereas a multi-platform company is
Yeah.
just they're going to stick with one solution and apply the solution with slight differences to each one of them, as opposed to just like, okay, we're just making Halo. We're gonna just take as much advantage of this, whatever this thing can do, and we don't need to worry about shipping it on other damn consoles.
Yeah. Well, well now they have to scale it up and down for PCs and Xbox One and all this other stuff, but it's still Xbox.
I mean,
we're
it's
still Microsoft's
it's
own software. Yeah.
it's still that, and then it's also still using the same sort of APIs and stuff like that. So in other words, you're still developing for the same sort of architecture.
Yeah,
As opposed to
exactly.
like, you don't see them shipping it on Mac.
Yeah.
Do you?
No, you do not. Oh man. Oh man, I'll tell you guys some shit off air. But yeah, move on. All right. Oh, I think this is the last question of the night. Oh boy! All right, one subset. He's been joining us. By the way, he asked us what games do we want Sega to remaster, but we've answered that before, or bring back. We've answered that before. All right, so this one is about id Software. Since id Software has released the last DLC for Doom Eternal, where do they go next? A new Quake, a new IP? What are they gonna do?
I'd like to see them do. I'd like to see them do a new IP. To be honest, I mean, Legacy is great. I love Legacy. And id Software seems to be great with doing essentially revamping all their Legacy. But I feel like it's time that they need to start doing some new things, because they cannot just be the Halo. Excuse me, not Halo. They can't just be the Doom, Quake,
Wolfenstein.
and
That's
and
a Freudian
Wolfenstein
slip
company.
right there.
Yeah,
Yeah,
right.
right.
Yeah. Hey, listen, it may happen, right? We'll see how Halo Infinite does.
Hey man, I say give it the id. Shit, they'll make that game fucking fun.
As for the question, yeah, because the question is actually, what do you expect them to do? They're probably going to pull out.
First-person shooter.
Yeah, it's going to be a first person. You already know, and I'm pretty sure it's probably.
Yeah.
I think here's the thing. I would have said Wolfenstein, but the last Wolfenstein, the DLC specifically didn't do that well. So I don't know if they're going to retread that yet, but I think we're going to get another Doom sooner rather than later. The last two Doom games have been doing very, very well for them. So I think and this is going to be exclusive. So that's going to be very interesting.
That's going to be very
Very
interesting.
interesting. Great series. But yeah, so yeah, we'll see. But id Software, Microsoft, they'll do some stuff for sure. All right, man. I think we're done here. So let's plug some stuff. Manny, what you got?
Next week, Nubia and the Amazons is going to be coming out on Tuesday, as well as Aquaman: The Beginning, which stars Kaldor, a boy from what's it? Not Teen Titans. What's the name
Young
of the
Justice.
other one? The Young Justice. So those two are coming out. A cover for that book and any issue of Nubia. And also next week, I'm going to be doing streams on my own
Excuse me?
Twitch and YouTube, because officially, when I draw things that are not game related, those do not go on the Throwdown channel.
No,
they
do
go onto onto my own channel, which is
Winky's Playhouse.
Just look at my Twitter if you're thinking, and we'll probably make sure that the Throwdown one pitches it out if anything. But yeah, I'm gonna be drawing a print for Anime NYC, which is coming on the 19th, which is on Friday. If you're in New York, in the New York area, drop by my table. I am at I1.
Nice. All right, Adam, what you got?
What do I got? Got another episode of I Am Negan, the TWD Universe podcast. We have for Fear the Walking Dead. I think that was episode 5. So that is still the nuke, still the fallout of the nuke. You still got radioactive walkers and people, and everyone's acting crazy. It's fun. I have a few buddies of mine that had fallen off, and some that didn't want to follow the spin-off of Fear, and they jumped in over the weekend like, yo, this is legit. This is fun. I was like, there you go. It's worth watching. So if you haven't, jump in. If not, whatever. But we're up to season 7, and it's still going. So if you want to invest some time, just consider that it's still around. It's not ending like World Beyond, which is garbage. So that is I'm Negan, Spotify, iTunes, YouTube, the Coalition with a K.com.
Good stuff. Chris, I believe we have something, me, you, and Carlos.
That's right. So yesterday we recorded a podcast about Shang-Chi and the 10 bracelets.
Yeah.
Yes.
I tried to watch it. My son was like, "Yo, let's watch. This looks good." And then like 10 minutes in, and after the fight on the bus, he just walked away. He's like, "Yeah, I'm done."
Oh, damn.
I'm like, what happened? I said, but they had all the action. He's like, yeah, but Daddy, they just keep talk. And they talking the funny talk. I don't understand it. He's 5 years old, people. So it's got the subtitles. And I said, yeah, it's got subtitles. But he said, but it's on Disney. He know I can't read. I was like, I know you can't read, but other people can read. He said, why would they do that? I was like, some of it's in English and the rest is funny talk. And I'm like having this whole conversation. And he's like, I'm out. So I'm like, okay.
Talking the funny talk.
He don't know. He doesn't know. He don't know this Chinese, Mandarin. He doesn't.
Oh, my God.
Don't worry, Chris. You're going to have these funny moments. They come.
Yeah.
You'll be like, I get it.
But yeah, we got the Shang-Chi spoiler cast over on the Coalition's YouTube channel. It was me, Chris, Carlos, Dana, Richard, and my adopted son, Joey Polanco. Good. By the way, that was the first time we had a spoiler cast where we all agreed. I was like, we all agreed. True. We were all like, this movie's meh.
Dana too.
We were all in agreement, because Dana's always the one like that goes the opposite of everybody, But even she was like, meh, the movie exists, but those special effects are fucking atrocious. Holy shit. So, and it's not like, Shang-Chi is an example of bad effects. It's like, no, it's an example of how bad effects are in general these days. Compare that shit to Dune, and you'll see what I mean. Like, again, compare that. Yeah. Like, we were doing Dune spoiler cast. Carlos was like, yo, the special effects of Dune were great. I'm like, it had special effects? Because they look so good, you don't even notice them. Shang-Chi's just in your face,
They were so good where I was like, going up to the screen looking at like the desert and the sand crawler and the dragonflies. I was like, oh my God, that looks so good. Shang-Chi, oh man.
The first instant, when Mandarin shows up, like, bro, what's up with these mountains and shit? What the fuck? Yeah. And
you could tell he was in a studio.
This is a sneak peek of what happened. But again, I just got about that bus chase scene. They did not with buses, but it was a chase scene in The Rock, right? Remember The Rock from 1996, right? They did this crazy ass action chase scene in San Francisco, real life, no CG whatsoever. They couldn't do this shit in this movie, Like,
why didn't she just stop the bus?
Yeah,
she could have just. It's not like there was a bomb. Not like Speed.
The brakes were cut.
Yeah, the brakes
were
brakes were cut.
Hand man, he cut the brakes.
Yeah, but it's like, bro, you couldn't do this practically. All right, man.
We need to clone Nolan and Denis.
Yeah, those guys get it. I forgot what Nolan movie was. I think it was
guys. Those guys would never touch a Marvel movie. I'll tell you that.
I don't think they wouldn't restrict themselves like that. But I forgot which Nolan movie it was. I'm looking, I'm like, yo, there's no CG in this, and if there is, I can't.
Dark Knight.
I think it was. I was like, and there was CG in there. Don't get me wrong, but it's not like
the trailer flipping. That was all real.
Yeah, that was real when they blew up the hospital. That shit was real too. There is CG. Don't get me wrong, but it's just the way you do it.
Or in the recent Nolan movie, he did actually crash a plane into a building.
Yeah. Hey, listen.
He crashed a plane. Literally, apparently, it was cheaper to crash a plane into a building than it was to do a CG of a crashing plane.
That's crazy. Hey, there you go, and it looks better. But yeah, go check out all our stuff. Oh, by the way, real quick, I don't try to plug myself too much, but over on Tom's Guide, I wrote an editorial about me. I'm sick of the constant conversations that come up whenever a new Soulsborne game. Oh, this game needs a difficulty mode. No, it doesn't. Leave it alone. So that's my whole thesis on there. So go check that out. Inspired by Gene Park. He's like, why are we having this conversation? We put this to bed. It's done. Leave it alone. That's the way the game's made. That's it. You know, and I didn't bring this up in the
That's
article.
the way
I
it is.
hate when people equate difficulty modes and accessibility. They're not the same thing. They're two completely different things. You know. Anyway, that's a story for another day. So we are done here, man. So make sure you follow Throwdown on Twitch, Twitter, and Discord, where Bob Hits will be posting more rumors than you could possibly keep up with. You know, you can follow us on any podcast app by searching for Throwdown Show. It's 2 words, Throwdown Show. Every podcast you could imagine, any podcast, you know, Spotify, Apple, Google, all that good stuff, you know. Throwdownshow.com, past episodes, you already know. And YouTube, if you're watching us on YouTube and you're the content, make sure you hit like, subscribe, and hit the bell to be notified. And make sure you leave comments and especially hit the like button. That helps us a lot. We need all the help we get on YouTube, you know, especially these days.
So real quick,
yo.
just because you brought up this whole thing
go
with the clicking them. So my son, he's watching all these videos. He does at YouTube Kids, and here there's one guy who's screaming, and this is how he gets people to do the likes. He's like, "Do you like ice cream? Do you like the color of ice cream? Click the little thumbs up. Watch it turn blue right now, right now. If you like ice cream," and, you know, and he's like, "Click, okay." And I'm like, this is how he's getting. He's got like 10,000 likes because he's just telling it. Do you like pizza? Then click the like button.
Oh
and
my
you
God.
like pizza, and you'll see it turns blue. Oh wait, what? Oh, boom, look at that, it's blue. You like pizza too?
That's pretty ingenious, though, you know.
Yeah.
Anyway,
Hey,
links.
hey,
Go ahead.
Hey, hey guys, if you like pizza, just click that like button.
Yeah, if you like pizza,
There you
click
go.
the like button.
Exactly.
All right, man.
Well, I have something to say.
Whoa.
I just got to the end of the network test.
Oh, nice. There we go,
So
man.
I beat that monster you were talking about,
Yeah.
Manny, that 6-armed whatever it was with swords and shields all over. I killed him, and then he gives you a key, open the ladder, and it says more to come in the full release.
Oh, shit.
So you can't go any farther. Yeah, I just got there.
Good stuff. All right, people. Links to everything down below. Once again, I was your host, Tony Polanco, and tonight I was joined by Emilio Lopez,
See you next time.
Chris Seeley,
Hey, take care, everyone.
Carlos Romero,
Peace out.
Adam Vale,
A good week, everybody.
Brett Murdoch,
Deuces.
and Brian Manjoma.
You would never believe it, but apparently people are saying that Cowboy Bebop and Netflix is trash. Who would believe that?
Came out already?
Here we go. Probably reviewers, they got to see it, you know?
Yeah, the reviews got sent down.
Yeah. All right, people. We'll see you on Thursday. Later.
Later.
This is
Peace.